All right. So, good morning to all of you guys. So, in all the previous modules, which we were discussing about, the installation of Active Directory connector, uh, we so far we have downloaded the connector, and then we copied onto the connector default directory of OIM, and then in the second module we just validated the successful installation of the connector by validating the components like resource object, schedule task, the process definition, lookup definitions, and so on. And then in the previous module, we actually installed, the connector server, and then we also talked a little bit about, or we saw what is the need for, having the connector server, okay, on the AD machine. So this is actually the fourth module as part of the Active Directory connector installation and configuration. So what we are going to do here is we are going to actually copy the connector bundle that we actually downloaded it earlier, okay, and then we are going to put it in the identity connector folder which was created, okay, when we installed the connector server in the previous step, okay. So we are going to do that, and then we are also going to set the connector key because we will be using this connector key parameter in the subsequent step, or after this, that is, we are going to be setting up the IT resource and the parameter for both Active Directory and then Active Directory connector server. So for that, we are going to do this step, so let's get started, guys. Okay, so if you see my folder, okay, so we have already downloaded this Active Directory connector in the very first step. We copied this into the connector default directory of OIM server. So I'm going to just go to the same folder there, okay? And here, I'm just going to copy all these files, okay? Okay, so I'm just copying this files here, and where I'm going to place them is I'm going to go to the, you know, identity connector folder, okay, which will be in C, and then the program files identity connectors, okay. And then under this, this is the connector server home directory, okay. So under this, we have to just paste all these files, and then, yep. So it just says the destination folder of already has a file name third party readme.txt, and then it says, okay, replace the file in destination. I just click OK, and then we have copied that now, okay. So if you remember, as I was saying, I've got this OIM running on Windows Server 2012 Data Center Edition, okay, and then also I've got my Active Directory already, running here, okay. So we have to be, installing the connector server, which actually acts as a proxy between OIM and the Active Directory machine, okay. So it basically acts as like a proxy. So we have already deployed the connector server, and now we have to copy whatever the connector installables we have put it in the connector default of OIM in the first step, and now we are going to copy this same folder, but instead of just copying so instead of just copying the entire zip file, I am just uh, copying only the the bundle, all the components inside the bundle folder, and then I'm putting it in the connector server folder, okay. So this is the actual important, this is the important step which we have to do as part of connector server configuration, okay. So we have done this. Now what we need to do is, okay, so if you just look into the services part, okay, there should be a connector server running here, okay. It is already running here, so probably I can just stop this, okay. Now what I'm going to do is I need to set the connector server key parameter, okay. So if you remember, we looked into the connector server .exe configuration file, it had this connector server key parameter here. Okay, so we have to be setting manually. I'm going to give some value here because, as I mentioned before, we will be using this connector server key parameter in configuring in configuring the IT resource parameter, which we are going to do it in the next step. Okay, so I'm just logging in here just to show you. All right, so I've logged into the system admin console, and here I just go to the IT resource parameter here, and then I just click on search. Okay, uh, I believe IT resource, and these are some of the basic terminologies, okay, which we have already discussed in our earlier modules. Okay, IT resource parameter, basically it holds the connectivity parameters. Okay, so in the very first step, when we deployed the Active Directory connector, it created the the IT resource parameter automatically for this Active Directory. Okay, and also it created this IT resource parameter or IT resource for the connector server. Okay, so if you just click on this edit and then go inside the connector server field, you can see the host, port, and the key parameters. Okay, so this field I'm going to set it manually here. Okay, so for that, what I need to do is I just go here and then go to this connector server exe file where it is located. Okay, and then I just navigate to this directory here. All right, so now I just need to give So I just need to give the connector server.exe, which is the executable one, and then I just need to give the switch set key, and then I just give some random password. Okay, here unfortunately it is in plain text. Okay, once it gets updated, then this parameter would get actually encrypted in the connector server.exe connector server configuration file. Okay, so I'm just updating it here. It says it is updated, so we have to just make a note of this. Ideally in production environment, okay, we'll be giving a complex key, and so since this is just a demo, I'm just giving some simple values here. Okay, and here we are done with the uh, copying the the connector server uh, or the connector installables into the connector server folder, and we have set the host name, sorry, the connector server.exe key parameter. Okay, so now I am just going to open the same WordPad here, and here it should get encrypted here. Okay, so as we saw earlier, the port number remains the same, 8759. I'm not changing it at this point of time. Use SSL is going to be false. Okay, so I just leave these parameters as it is, and now I'm just going to close this. So we are done with the the fourth step, which is uh, the connector server parameter. Okay, thanks a lot, guys.